Hello and welcome to Conscious Creation. I am your teacher and guide, Lisa, and I'm so grateful that you are here today for this lesson. Now, today's lesson is kind of an important one because it is what even is conscious creation. All right, so conscious creation is number one, a process. So whether you realize it or not, all day, every day, we are constantly in the process of change or the process of creation. Whether we're creating things that we want or we don't want, kind of depends on the consciousness of it, right? But creation is always happening. And it is always happening as a process where something starts as a thought and then moves through the body and becomes emotions, right? So this can be as simple as, what am I going to have for dinner today? Right? Simple question. Could be asked in two different ways. One could be, hey, I wonder what I should make for dinner tonight. That's a very open and very conscious of wanting a positive result. Or it could be like, oh God, no, I have to make dinner again. Like, what are we even going to have? Right? Same process of creating dinner, two very different experiences of it because of the thoughts and emotions that occur through the process. So it starts with the thought, I gotta make dinner, right? And then as it moves through, first starts with the idea of like, what can I make? And you're playing with it in your mind. And then at some point you finally decide, okay, this is what I'm going to make. And you start preparing it, right? And then the process of actually preparing it takes longer because it's actually occurring in the physical. So processing things through the mind is quite quick. It's when you want to bring that from the mind space into the physical that it takes a little more time and a little more care and a little more emotion. So let's say you're making that dinner and you start putting all it together and you realize an ingredient's missing, and then you need to find a solution or you need to tweak it in some way, and you have to problem solve. You have to physically participate in the process of creating this beautiful meal for yourself and whoever else if needed, right? And eventually you come to the creation of this beautiful meal. Now, as somebody who maybe does not enjoy cooking all that often, I actually need to be very conscious of that. And so one of my strategies is to prepare the day before what I'm going to make the next day. So then it's like, oh, I got to make dinner. I'm not dreading it and trying to figure out what I'm going to make. I already have a plan, and therefore I'm just putting the plan into action. So my creation process is much smoother and faster. But it's always the same, where the mental component is one very important part, but it is much faster than the physical part, which takes longer because you have to move through a process to get there. So the fact that it is a process, it's very, very important. And this same process, whether it's creating something in the physical, like a dinner, or whether it's creating something emotional, like I want to feel good, right? If you're feeling crappy and you want to get to a place of feeling good, it starts with a thought, right? I've got to feel better than this. I don't want to feel like this. I want to feel like this, right? So that thought is there. And then it starts to move through the body of like, okay, is this possible? Can I do this? I want to feel good, right? And then when you're doing it consciously, right, then you're utilizing things in your mind like maybe affirmations or ideas where you're like, okay, I can do this. Let's go, right? And then there comes to a place where it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to actually do some emotional work and I have to move through some of the stuff within my body to help get to the other side of this emotion, right? So it's always a process, whether it's something that's on an emotional level or a physical level. They're both actually the same process, which is fascinating. And the other key is that it equally involves both thought and emotions, which I'm sure you are well aware of. Your thoughts and emotions, it's hard to decide which came first, right? They're always working, supposed to be, together for you, right? And so the consciousness of it is when you, as the soul spark spirit within you, take the reins and go, okay, these thoughts, They're mine, and they're supposed to work for me. These emotions, they're mine. They're working for me. How can I understand them? How can I ensure that I, as the soul within myself, having this experience, right? I came here for a reason. How can I ensure that these two components are working for me and with me so that I can get the best results? Consciously choosing to move from one state to another through the process of change and rebalancing. And so the key component to this, when you consciously choose to do it, it means that you yourself are saying, okay, there is a part of me within me that has power. I have the power to decide the thoughts I think. And if I don't like the thoughts I think, I can change them. They're meant to work for me. It's a very active component when you're working with your own mind. Whereas with the body and the emotions, it's a much more passive. You're listening to your emotions. Your emotions are communicating to you, and they're trying their best to get your attention. And so the sooner you can learn to listen and to make understanding and interpret what's being communicated to you, the more you can work with those emotions to help make sure that they are in balance. Because it is when our thoughts and emotions, so when we first have a new thought or a new inspiration, and we want to bring it into the physical, right? It comes through a process, and in that process, it creates a shake. I call it the wobble, right? It's when our emotions and our thoughts, right? We're starting to open to new possibilities, to new options that are available to us. And that means we have to move through the experience and letting go of the things that maybe don't align with where we want to go. And it does take time and care. Right? So it's this idea of when we learn how to use our mind for ourselves and how we use the understanding of our emotions for ourselves, and these two components work with us as well as our guidance from spirit, right? For the soul spark in you to utilize these amazing systems that we have within us. And honestly, conscious creation really comes down to learning to understand the systems you already have and utilizing them to actually work for you to create what you want, and what you want not only in the physical as in things, but also in the emotional of how you want to feel. Because ultimately you're going from one state to another, and we always are. And so what our thoughts and our emotions are doing and where they're pointing help us to understand what state we are going to. And when we consciously create, we choose where we're going. We decide, we set the goal. We're like, I'm going to feel this. I'm going to create this. And then we willingly go through the process using our mind, understanding our emotions so that we can get to the other side as quickly and efficiently as possible. And it doesn't mean that we don't feel these feelings. Right? It doesn't mean we don't think these thoughts. It's that we learn how to use them and to work with them and to realize that we ourselves, within ourselves, are actually our greatest companion, our greatest guide, and we can work with these things to make sure that they are working for us. And that is the most critical component of conscious creation. It is ensuring that all of our systems work for us. So we no longer think that everything's happening to us, right? We're aware that yes, absolutely, things can happen, right? We don't create everything that happens in our world and in our lives. We all know that. But we get to choose how we respond to them. And we get to utilize these experiences as a way for us to grow and expand. Because no matter what it is happening for us. And as somebody who has been through a very, very challenging experience, to wrap your mind around the fact that no matter what happened, it happened for your greatest good is extremely difficult. And I understand that. But at the end of the day, ultimately, the goal is for you to feel so stable and so secure within yourself, because you know what you're working with, and you know how to work with them so that you are never at the mercy of the world outside of yourself. You are always in balance and control with the world within yourself, and from within, so without, right? This is a very important component of the creation process that we as a whole need to understand. It is not just the active thoughts, and I just put my thoughts out there and then I'm just going to create exactly what I think. There is also a very emotional, passive component that help us to ensure that we are creating something that is truly in line with our greatest good and in line with us feeling balanced, stable, and secure. And in the world that we're living in right now, stability and security comes from within. And that is what conscious creation is all about. I've done it. You can do it too. And trust me, it is 100% worth it. The person I am today, regardless of what I went through, is a phenomenal version of me. And I got here by choosing to consciously create my reality. And it was hard. And I really do wish that I actually had some guidance. So that is why I am here today, because I want to be the guide for you so that you're not going through this alone, that you're not trying to solve this or figure this out all by yourself. I want you to know that you have somebody by your side who has been through it and can make sure that you understand that it is worth it. It may be hard to get started, and it may be hard to keep going, but I promise you, if you choose to consciously create, if you choose to make peace with your emotions and get to know them and understand what they're communicating to you, and if you can take control of that mind and make sure that it is working for you, these two things coming into balance with one another, they are the point of creation. Because ultimately, we create our perfect state when there's in balance. And what you see in the world right now is that it is very much about opposites and these polar, and everything's about duality, right? Or so it appears. But the reality is, for us to be conscious creators, for us to create the life, the world that we came here to do, we have to move past the illusion of these duality and realize that it's actually the place in between. It's not our mind or our body. It's not our thoughts and our emotions. It is together. They are meant to work together, and they're meant to work for you, because you are the captain of your ship. You are the one in control, and you are the one who is empowered, and it is possible for you to have every single thing you want and every single thing you want to feel. I am a conscious creator, and I am very proud of it. And I can't wait to keep working with you so that you can be one too. Please subscribe, come back, and I will see you soon.